At night, the giant would stick its eye to the hole in the back of the television set and watch it as he slept. He's always going up against inanimate objects versus walls, etc. And he always won emotionally, though the inanimate objects won physically. After a fight with his wife, he'd often storm for tonight, find some open microphone to walk at some poetry night to wind poems into. It wasn't too long before he talked too much, said something stupid. He'd always smile at the people he recognised. He got a nighttime job flyering for musicians. The job was hatched outside of the back of a flyby van. It would stop outside of his house. His, we keep saying. Let's call him Morrison. Back of a flyby van that would stop outside of Morrison's house. Morrison's funny little house with the gables painted like the eyes of the giants. It's purple walls and yellow shingles. You'd smile if you saw it. Maybe well, but cool. The van would stop outside, pull a toot. Toot and Morrison would come out if he was home, knock on the back of the van, and the van doors would swing wide, and there'd be Pike, like the fish, as Pike would tell you. And Pike would be chewing half-heartedly away at a cigarette. Pike sat in a wound-up, hunched, utterly awkward position, probably on the wheel well of the van, for what Morrison could guess by his vantage point. And Pike would just be about invisible in the universe of cardboard boxes and tools that choked the van's back. Rummage into a box and hand over a teacher a stack of flyers. And Morrison would manage to snug the flyers between one hand and his hairless chin. Morrison would feel the glossiness of the top flyer at the tip of his chin, and he'd smell the freshness of the minting of the flyers. The flyers were always for raves and warehouses where pillheads would go and eat pills and dance the music all night, or watch the lights all night, or simply nod their heads to the beats all night, or probably all three of those things. Right, Pike? Morrison would ask. Yes, sir, Pike would respond. And then, in the time it took for the flyers to be handed over, Morrison would task himself to come up with some question about the contents of the van, because the contents always fascinated. What's with those bendy pipes? Morrison would ask. A Pike would respond in one of three ways. He'd respond with obfuscation. Therefore, another job. Which meant in turn that the universe of contents was responsible for a universe of this and that. Or he'd respond with a correction. They're not bendable. Or he would respond with the correct answer, adding some tantalising yet mysterious detail. Therefore the gutters and the channel shed. And Pike would give the same instruction, always the same instruction. Dole them out between midnight and 6 in the morning, right? And then the van doors would swing shut and the van would drive away. Morrison would stand there, wondering about the job's hours, wondering if the operation was just simply shy about flyering, or he would wonder what the Channel shed could possibly be. Or he'd simply, with his free hand, snap his fingers in self-damnation at not asking what was always the biggest question after the van drove away. He'd sing this short, tuneless bit he'd thought up regarding the driver of the van.
Who is he that drives that van? Is he a he, even a man? And does he drive by a coda, kicking at a can? He chucked that can of soda on the driver's side floor, and now it's in the way of the accelerator. Who is he that drives that van? And why do I first think of him as a man? Anyway, Morrison would deliver the flyers at night. He remembered capturing another van in the countryside with him and his friends, and then he couldn't remember where he captured it.
He remembered he drove a vehicle that was much like a van, only smaller. It only fit him and the flyers. It didn't run on gas, thank God. He loved to spot lonely cans in empty parking spaces. He loved the radio to waver between stations, first belting out the stations, then followed by little indices of static.
The best time being when the radio wavered between French people talking and early American banjo blues. He erected a tent in the garden to avoid the giant sticking its eye to the television set at night and keeping an eye on Paul Morrison. But he was reluctant to sleep in the tent because it wasn't a good night's sleep. Then neither was the midnight flyering gig. And creeping he'd go, surprised when he saw an apartment block with a stack of mail boxes. And off he'd go, a pen in his hand, a star in his eye, his heart chugging, his mother far away. Every decent door had a letterbox.